Explicit, systematic application of method is exhausting. It is why we invented machines. It is why we will never be machines. So now, anything goes. This is Retrace, segment number 24. It's Thursday, October 20th, 2022. 2022. At 11:21 p.m., Retrace is about what's going on out there. Is it, though? Is it really, though? Going into this segment, oh man, I had a crisis. I was working on the next step with the world model. I've got a pile of live notes backed up, all of which seemed like good show material when I started the files. But the one I was working on, it's like, okay, let's be systematic. Need the world model. Everything I've said is true, and yet I don't want to. It's not fun. It's not human. It's inhuman. It's to be explicit, systematic application of method is exhausting. It was exhausting, and I didn't even get very far. You want to hear what the world model that I got? Look, now don't think that this is all that I've ever done on world models. I said yesterday. No, I've done a lot. I swear, I've done a lot. This is the world model. Now, I'm not trying to belittle it, but this is better than what it would have been if I had kept going with analysis paralysis. Not paralysis, but analysis shenanigans. Here's the world model. NINFA. Nature is not effing around. And that means GNR, GCR, BNR, and they all have real deadlines. Go back and listen if you don't know what I'm talking about, or just keep listening. I'll explain it plenty when you need it. Number 2, there are 3 kinds of intelligence: natural, artificial, and strategic. Number 3, sources require tests and then integration. And number 4, computer control is what's going on out there. Done. Now you know what's going on out there, and you have a world model. My work here is finished. You're welcome. Thanks for watching. Not exactly. If you start trying to apply that, oh, jeez. Oh, it was like a moment of terror. No, it wasn't terror. What was it? It was dread. It was doom. I got a sick feeling inside me, in the middle, where all the stuff is. It was like this. Okay, how am I going to go take this world model and test it on the real world? The first thing that comes to mind for me is reading the New York Times. Just the home. You don't need to read like a full article. Just maybe glance at the homepage. Can't get a paper copy anymore these days. Not that, that's fine. I'd rather it the way it is now. And I started thinking, I started doing it. I started, okay, well, first I'm going to have to talk about it. I can't even, I'm not even going to open the file. And it was like, this sucks. This sucks. I don't want to do this. No one's going to want to listen to this, and rightly so. This is not how humans are. This is method based on methodology, which is systematic, being applied explicitly, and it's exhausting. And then, because I was working on world models today and making sure that everything I said about world models yesterday was true, because I thought, oh man, I haven't really dug through everything. Like, maybe somebody is using the term world model and I just missed it. So I went through the library. The library is in quotes, my library, which is substantial, but it's not the library. And I came across Feyerabend, and I don't know how to say his last name. Feyerabend. It's spelled like that. This guy. Look at that mug. Can you see that? Him. Look at how inspired he seems. It's blurry. You can't see it. Against Method. 3rd edition, Paul Feyerabend. Against Method. It's my get out of jail free card. I don't have to, because I can just go, I can be against it. I can be an anarchist. That's what he is, a philosopher of science, embracing anarchism as the fundamental principle of the scientific method, or lack thereof. Okay, this is getting too abstract. That was the thing that's why now anything goes. Okay. It's not going to work to be systematic when we talk about this. I'm going to be systematic in, off mic, off camera. Yes. There's no other way. Now, not necessarily methodologically pure. Like Feyerabend has a point here. It's like there really might be no real permanent constraints that apply to all inquiry. But method and methodology and then methods, they're totally hugely important. I mean, everything I've said is true, but the problem is this is a podcast. This is not inquiry. This is the result or the side effect of the byproduct of inquiry. And it's not just mine, it's yours too. Like, you're not just listening to this as a passive stump. You're doing your own thing, trying to figure out what's going on out there. You're listening to this, hopefully, because it's helping you do your thing, et cetera, et cetera. So now anything goes, because the other way was never going to work. Explicit, systematic application of method. It's exhausting. But we're not going to talk. We're going to do. Don't talk, do. Don't talk, do. Oh, the rule I have violated more than any other in the world of productivity. Talking and not doing. I feel like I'm doing, and I'm not going to defend myself. You need to relax and get off my back, okay? I get it now. I need to do more doing and less talking, but the talking I did felt really dewy. I get that idea from Edwards. I'm feeling lucky. His account of being one of the early Google employees. I'm just going to read you a little bit of it. This is from Edwards' book. In reality, if you weren't an engineer, your first directive was to avoid impeding the progress of those who were. I'm not a technical guy. He was like a newspaper writer and English major, I think. I'm not a technical guy. No one at Google ever said, hey, let's ask Doug Edwards, when the flux capacitor hiccuped. They had a flux capacitor. Whew. But you couldn't work at Google without learning something new every day, even if you weren't trying to. Most engineers opened up about their work when I sat next to them at lunch, and generally they didn't mind using little baby English words to explain things to me. Don't belittle yourself, man. You know you're smart. Stop acting like you're not. Given the pressure, though, the engineers were biased toward being productive rather than talking about their productivity. It was a don't talk, do kind of culture, which made communication about our technical achievements erratic. So that's where it's been wrong here, and it's going to be righter going forward. We need to be more in that mode of don't talk, do. Feyerabend. This is from his Against Method. He's talking about method in science, but in a second here you'll see how it applies to things beyond science. He just says, this is just, the basic idea. Science is an essentially anarchic enterprise. The only principle that does not inhibit progress is anything goes. Yes, because that feels right, man. That feels right. And the systematic exposition or presentation feels wrong. And I'm not being systematic when I put this stuff together. I'm finding stuff that's systematic, but I'm not being systematic when I find it. I'm being a monkey. I'm a monkey. We're all kind of monkeys, or gorillas or whatever the most. Chimpanzees and bonobos. We're those. We're not machines. We're chimps and bonobos. That's how I feel inside. I feel very chimpy a lot, sometimes bonobo-ish. And that's how I'm going to be. And that's what you're going to hear. And it's going to be better than the I'm kind of like a machine attitude, which I don't think I had, but maybe I just don't want to think I had that, and I really did. Chimp all the way with some bonobo, or bonobo all the way with some chimp. I won't get into the major difference between the behavior of those two primates. I'll give you a hint. One is frisky and one is violent. That's not a hint. That's it. Okay. E.O. Wilson, in his book, The Origins of Creativity, he's got a little, not a world model, but he's the biologist. Famous Harvard biologist. He studied ants, and now he's in charge of all the biologists. He wrote a book called On the Origins, the Origin of Creativity, but he has this great idea about humans, the human world. It's a model of the human world. He says, the two great branches of learning, science and the humanities, are complementary in our pursuit of creativity. They share the same roots of innovative endeavor. The realm of science is everything possible in the universe. The realm of the humanities is everything conceivable to the human mind. Okay, so if Feyerabend is talking about the scientific method, let's expand the anything goes to encompass, or let's call it the against method to encompass the humanities. And it's bigger than the humanities, right? We're not just talking about branches of learning. Is what's going on out there a branch of learning? Is it a science? Is it a humanity? That doesn't matter. I don't need an answer. But I think it's mostly that. So that's it. We're going to change tacks, and everything that has gone before is all still true. But so what's the next? What's the next segment going to be? I think I'm just going to read the news. For some reason, that's been pulling at me for a long time. It's not just going to be the news. That would, there's a lot more to figuring out what's going on out there than just reading the news. But we got to start somewhere, and that's it. That's the first thing that's coming to my chimp bonobo brain, and it has been for a long time. Getting to that. Well, now we're there. We'll skip all the other steps. There were so many other steps. Oh, I was going to drag you through so much more method and methodology, and what's the derogatory phrase I can use to refer to the old MO? The machine MO, like Agent Smith sort of stuff. It wasn't, but but there's validity to it. All right, I'll shut up. All right, that's it. Got it? So the old way, if we had continued being explicit and systematic in application of method, we would have been exhausted. And it wouldn't have been a we, it would have been me continuing to talk to myself to an empty auditorium on the internet, because I get it. I hear it too. But I had to go through all that. We had to talk about that. You had to know. You have to trust me. You have to trust me, or this is pointless. Or at least you're listening to it is pointless. It's not pointless to me if you don't trust. I don't know. You're one person, and I can't interact with you directly. But you definitely have to trust me if you're listening to this. Hopefully, I've demonstrated that you kind of can. I think you 100% can, but you have to decide that. I'm going to do everything I talked about, but not on the mic. You don't want to hear it. You want the result. You'll hear some of it, but you don't need a tour of the factory every time you buy the product. Enough. Follow-ups, amendments, and corrections. Meh. References from this segment will be in the show notes. Full PDF notes at our website, retraice.com, retraice.com. This is Retraice, segment number 24. And we will see you again around midnight. Signing off.